I guess that's the thing, is like when I share like one part of my life, like even just, yeah, how I got started with moko, that story almost goes back to the very beginning, you know. It's like how
The whakapapa of our...
yeah, I guess like how it all began, like, because that's the thing, is it wasn't just a one moment thing where it was like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Like our whole lives have never been like that. It's kind of like everything has intertwined with each other.
Led to the next thing.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I really cherish with my whānau, is that me and my parents have such a good relationship. I feel like I can talk to them about anything. Just such an interesting time, because I feel like that, like getting with you at that time actually changed the trajectory of my life, because I could have totally gone another way, and I was heading another way. And I feel like, yeah, us getting together, I don't know, from day one, you kind of have just always held me accountable, I guess, to be better. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much more, but like in a nutshell.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking like, bro,
how long do you want to go? You know,
there's so many little things where I was just like, oh, what about all that shit we did in between there?
Yeah, like, because that's the thing, we were friends before. So
like I knew what you were up to. I knew who you hung out with. I knew the shit that you would do, you know, or even myself, you know. But
I had said to myself, like, yeah, I'm just not gonna be with anybody, do anything with anybody until like I find someone who I'm actually fucking serious about. And which is so crazy to like think that I was doing that at 15, but yeah, something in me just said like, okay, stop fucking around, like take yourself seriously, and like you'll know when someone else is going to be taking you that seriously, and that person was you, I guess.
Yeah, I guess he was, because you're still here.
Yeah.
Obviously, the next best thing after that in a 15-year-old boy is bloody girls, drugs, parties, fights, like all of that type of shit. That was like super appealing to me as a teenager, you know. I loved a good fight, you know. I loved fucking seeing people get a hiding. I loved fucking getting a hiding. I loved everything about it, you know. Like I loved being with the boys, you know, like that camaraderie, you know, like, or whatever that word is. I can see why all the brothers like turn towards gangs, because it's a feeling where it's just like you feel like you're a part of something. Long story short, like in this time when I'm living away from home, I'm living at my bro's house, this is kind of when me and Steve become kind of friends. This is where we started hanging out, because I had all this freedom. She was a bit of a, like, she had freedom. Her parents didn't even care what she was doing, or she was,
not
or
that they didn't know,
you know. Like, so yeah, she
I
had
was
told
able
them
to
some
get
bullshit.
around
She had
it.
told them some lies anyway, so she was pretty much always out doing whatever she wanted to do. So we would always cross paths, you know, because I'm a free man now. All right.
Let's get started.
Kia ora te whānau. Kia ora rātana tōku ingoa. My name's Kia ora. So pretty much for this first little episode that we're going to do, pretty much just going to introduce ourselves and share a little bit about ourselves. So that's me. Yeah.
Kia ora whānau, you all know who I am. I'm Stevie. And yeah, I guess the intention of this first episode was to share a little bit about ourselves, and I guess the overall intention of showing up here is to really be able to share our story, be able to share our perspective on things throughout our life, because Kim was like, I guess Kim did a story where he was asking like what his followers wanted to know, and he said to me like, oh yeah, lots of people want to know how I got into moko, and I said to him, like, yeah, obviously, but really the part of that story is right at the beginning of ours, right? So taking it right back and telling our story from the start. So yeah, that's why we're here. So thank you for tuning in. It's been a long time coming.
So we've been together, what, nearly 15 years now?
Yeah, it'll be 15 years at the end of this year, which is half of our lives.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
I was 16 and she was 15 at the time when we got together. And so, yeah, like, I guess that's the thing, is like when I share like one part of my life, like even just, yeah, how I got started with moko, that story almost goes back to the very beginning, you know. It's like how
the whakapapa of our...
yeah, I guess like how it all began, like, because that's the thing, is it wasn't just a one moment thing where it was like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Like our whole lives have never been like that. It's kind of like everything has intertwined with each other.
Led to the next thing.
And it's almost been like a 15-year long trip. What an experience it has been. So I guess, yeah, we were going to like use this first episode as, I guess, to share a little bit about our lives before we got together. So yeah, we've spent the last 15 years together, and prior to that we had 15 years of our life without each other. So this is like almost the only part of our lives where we're not together, you know. So I guess Steve can start there and share a little bit about what her first 15 years of her life were, what her upbringing was like, maybe like your relationship with your parents, siblings, yeah, your whānau really. What was your first 15 years like?
Yeah, okay. And as well, as we share this stuff, I think like it's going to help make sense of a lot of things that we share down the track as well. So, yeah, as I said, I'm Stevie. I'm 30 years young. And my dad is a farmer. He's a dairy farmer. And he's been a dairy farmer for as long as I can remember. And my mum has just always been at home. And yeah, we grew up on a farm, obviously. My dad was always moving around, going to different farm jobs. So I felt like I never really had a solid foundation of friends growing up because we were always moving. But anywhere we did go, I did make friends, which was good. I've got my mum, my dad, I have 3 older siblings. I have my sister who's the oldest, and then we have another sister who passed away when I was maybe like 9 years old. Maybe? I was young when she passed away anyway. And then I've got an older brother, and then there's me. And all of my other siblings were raised not with our mum, so we all share the same mum. And I was raised with our mum and my dad, and my siblings were raised some with our grandparents, and one of my sisters were raised with her dad. So it felt like I was an only child for a lot of the time because my siblings weren't really around. And then when I was about 9, my parents adopted my little sister, and yeah, she's been with us since I was about 9. I think it was about 9, 8 or 9. Because I was about 8 or 9, I didn't really hang out with her as much. You know, you kind of get older and you're like, oh, I don't want to hang out with the baby. And you don't really want to like hang out with the little kids. So yeah, we didn't really hang out all that much. There's quite a big gap between us. So that's my sibling dynamic. I have an older sister, another older sister that passed, an older brother, and a younger sister. My mum and my dad, they're also, so they're my half siblings. So we share the same mum and different dads. And I was brought up with my dad, and my dad is kind of like the dad to my other siblings as well. He would be like their stepdad. But honestly, I would say I had a pretty good upbringing. Like, obviously no whānau is perfect, but my parents provided a really loving home for me, and I am really close with my parents. I feel like we've been through, well, obviously my life's journey together, but my parents are so open-minded, and I feel like I've grown so much as a person, especially since living here in Australia, and they've always been so open to that and open to hearing what I have to say, open to seeing where I'm at, and yeah, just always been really supportive. So I feel like that's one thing that I really cherish with my whānau is that me and my parents have such a good relationship. I feel like I can talk to them about anything. That's something that we've kind of been able to build up with over the years, but I feel like the way that they raised me was the foundation for that, I guess. My dad's always been a hard worker and provided for our whānau, and my mum has just always been really approachable, I guess, in terms of me trying to talk to her. What else? I went to many different primary schools, went to Te Awamutu College that was kind of my first big school that I ever went to, actually, was Te Awamutu College. I'd only ever been to country schools other than that. I never did an intermediate or anything like that. So when I went to this college, I was like mind-blown that it was so big and felt like there were so many people there. And I only knew maybe like 1 or 2 people at the time, so it was quite scary, actually. And I think growing up as well, there'd be times where I had done this, but getting into high school, I just really wanted to fit in, I guess. I think unconsciously had this mindset of like, yeah, I just want to fit in, and I was a little bit of a bully, I would say. And it was kind of like bully or be bullied. I wouldn't say that I was consciously thinking that, but looking back on it now, it was like, yeah, I had to like be something that I wasn't, hard, and portray myself as somebody who was hard so that I didn't get picked on, because yeah, I didn't want to get picked on. I was like one of the smaller kids in the school as well, you know, so it was like, yeah, interesting. I hung around with the wrong crowd a little bit before I met you, actually, and was hanging around with like what we'd call like the Hories, maybe the Yodis at school, and doing, yeah, just naughty things like smoking. I had like one fight at school. I ended up getting expelled, actually, because I was just wagging all the time, not taking school seriously, starting all this drama. So they were like, get out. So then I had to go to Otorohanga College, because that's where my whānau lived, because my dad was a farmer. And I wanted to be, what do they call it? Like schooled from home, correspondence. But because the bus went right past my house, I wasn't actually allowed, and I had to go to the school that I was in catchment for. So the thing was that like where I used to go to school and where I now went to school, they hated each other. So when I started going to Odo College and I was from TA, the girls there wanted to beat me up. And like I said, I'd only been in one other fight before, which wasn't even a real fight. So I was really scared, and I didn't want to get beaten up by these girls because they were very big, very hoary, and I knew that they would beat me up. So I stopped going to school from that day onwards. I basically wagged the whole year and begged for Te Awamutu College to take me back. And I'm pretty sure that's when I got with you, actually, was
Yeah, when you went back to
when
TA
I went
college.
back to TA college. And yeah, just such an interesting time because I feel like that, like getting with you at that time actually changed the trajectory of my life
Yeah,
because I
definitely.
could have totally gone another way and I was heading another way. And I feel like, yeah, us getting together, I don't know, from day one, you kind of have just always held me accountable, I guess, to be better. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much more, but like in a
Yeah, I
nutshell,
know. I was thinking like, bro, there's
how long
so
do you want to
many,
go,
I know,
you
there's
know?
so many
Like,
little things where I was just like, oh, what about all that shit we did in between there?
yeah, yeah, like,
and like
because
even
that's the thing, we
before,
were friends
yeah,
before,
like I
so
knew what you were up to. I knew who you
yeah.
hung out with. I knew the shit that you would do, you know, or even myself, you know. But
So that was the other thing. When I was at TA college, Kim and I were friends at the time, and we just started, I guess, hanging out as friends, a group of us. And it was genuinely like
yeah, just
friends at first. There
like
was
neither of us were
no
interested.
like attraction or anything
Yeah,
like that. It was genuinely just friends for probably like a year, eh?
yeah, probably a year.
And we just hung out. And I remember I was like going through high school drama with somebody else, and I guess just finding myself in that too. Like, yeah, when I started high school, it was very interesting because I had this mindset that coming from a country school, right, I'd never even hooked up with anybody. And so I just thought like, okay, I'm going to like be a virgin until I'm 18. And then when I got to this dirty little high school, I realized that I was living in La La Land and people are like out here full hooking up on the field and stuff. Like that was so foreign to me. And so I guess, yeah, trying to be with the cool girls and stuff, and we're led to believe like the music that we listen to, the movies that we watch, that like going out and hooking up and stuff is cool. And I guess as I was meeting Kim and like becoming his friend and we started hanging out, that's when I was like, I don't really want to be doing this and like sleeping around anymore. Not that I fucking slept around heaps, but just doing that in general. And so yeah, that's kind of where I was at. And then if you know, like you become friends with somebody, right, and you hang out with them, and then it's just like, I don't know, inevitably eventually feelings start to develop. I feel like that just naturally happens. And it felt like it naturally happened with us because I felt, I don't know, you can explain your side, but I felt like safe with you. I felt like I could trust you. I already like knew you as a person. You're like a good friend. So I was like, oh, maybe like he would be a good boyfriend too. And I had said to myself, like, yeah, I'm just not gonna be with anybody, do anything with anybody until like I find someone who I'm actually fucking serious about. And which is so crazy to like think that I was doing that at 15, but yeah, something in me just said like, okay, stop fucking around, like take yourself seriously, and like you'll know when someone else is going to be taking you that seriously, and that person was you, I guess.
Yeah, I guess he was because you're still here.
Yeah.
I felt like I wasn't aware at the time, especially growing up, but I feel like I genuinely had probably the best parents, and they genuinely not only did their best but cared enough to like always show up for me and all my siblings. So I don't know, I just feel like I'll start with that by saying like I'm just super grateful for my parents. I'm super grateful for like the upbringing that we had and the safety within our home. Just the fact that we always had a home, and that was never a problem. That was never something we had to stress about, you know. So as a kid, you don't see these things, you know. As kids, you don't notice these things. You think that your parents are being fucking stingy or mean or nasty, you know. You think your parents are being strict when realistically they're just literally doing their best with what they got. And it took me until probably the age of mid-20s, you know, to actually realise that, you know. So I'll start by saying that I had the fucking best parents. I had a really like nuclear fucking family household, you know. I was fortunate enough to have a mother and father present in my household at all times, where my parents were always together. I was fortunate enough, yeah, to always be in. It wasn't a household where we necessarily like were very expressive about how much we loved each other, like within words and things, but within actions, it was always known and felt, you know, like that you were loved, you were welcome, and you were taken care of. So for me, man, like I'm just super grateful because I had parents that fucking rode it out with all their differences. And especially now, me being a parent and being an adult and seeing the differences that you do have as a couple in a relationship, you know, you are two individuals coming together as a unit, and now you're creating your own family unit, you know, and these families are led with morals and ethics and respect and these things, you know. So I'm super fucking blessed that my parents raised me and my siblings with these things, you know. Yeah, it's something that I think shows within all of my siblings' lives, you know, like all of us are doing great in our own way. Yeah, I guess I'm just, yeah, super blessed and proud of my parents for doing what they did. So yeah, I've got there's four of us, four siblings. I've got two older sisters and then one younger brother. I've got a reasonable relationship with all my siblings. I fucking love and appreciate them all, even though we're all very much different and we're all very much on our own paths. Yeah, I love them all. Yeah, I guess as a kid, fuck, we had a cool upbringing, you know. Our parents worked. Mum worked full time, dad worked fuck, it feels like every time, like it just feels like dad, that's all he did was work, but understanding that that's what was providing for us. So yeah, I guess as a kid, I had a pretty normal upbringing as a little Maori boy. We grew up out on, I was born in Auckland, Takapuna Hospital, and my dad, well, he ended up getting a job as a prison officer, so we ended up relocating from Auckland down to Te Awamutu. That's where I started school at Korokanui Primary, and then we moved into Te Awamutu. We moved out from the country into town, which was like, that was a big thing for me because I didn't realise the differences, like we were at a school with maybe 50 or 60 kids, and then we've now gone to a school with 100 or a couple hundred, and there was heaps, like, so when we were in the country, it was kind of Pākehā kids, there wasn't that many Māori kids, there was only a handful of us. I remember that was the first thing I realised when I come into town, bro, was that fucking majority of my school was Māori kids, like, and I was like, wow, like, and it was a whole different ball game, man. The kids here were different. They were smoking, they were doing crazy shit, stealing, like wandering the streets, like these are things that I hadn't really been exposed to until, probably the age of 8. And as like that's your environment, you end up doing the same shit, hanging out with those same little mischief kids, becoming a mischief kid yourself. Yeah, that was like, I feel like I had a really good schooling in that. I always had really good friends, no matter what school I went to. I can always remember, I always had like the best friends, bro. Like I always had best friends, no matter where I went. Like OG friends that would like ride or die friends, like, and I guess that's one of those things that I've somewhat been good at, is always building like good relationships that somewhat last, a lot of them don't as well. But as a kid, I was definitely not social, but somehow found I got along with everyone, like, and at school, I wasn't like a popular kid or a cool kid or anything, especially at primary. I was kind of just a normal kid, man, like wasn't great at sports or anything like that. Didn't even think I was an artist or anything like that, even though I was reasonable at art. Then anyway, so that was Picado Primary. I went to Picado Primary from the age of 8 to about 11 or 12. Then went to Te Awamutu Intermediate, and that was probably like my glory days of school. I really loved like intermediate, and that's, I guess, for people in here in Australia, that's like we get 2 years between primary school and high school, and that's kind of like, it's almost like your prepping time to get ready to be a teenager. In this period of my time, I got obviously you're going through puberty and things like that, so I'm getting big, I'm getting stronger, faster, like so sports become like a big part of my life at that point, because rugby was one of those sports that every boy in New Zealand wanted to be good at. So that was kind of my hobbies at that time, like was trying to be good at rugby anyway. I'm still friends with like a lot of people that I went to that school with. So many different stories of intermediate, but anyway, in that time it was kind of like you kind of had to make a decision, like, so we're living in Te Awamutu. Your only really option for high school is Te Awamutu College, and everyone kind of knew like there's not that much opportunities at Te Awamutu College. So I remember I had a lot of white boy mates at school, and they come from good families, wealthy families, and I remember they were all going to Hamilton Boys. He was travelling all the way to Hamilton to go to school, and they were like, yeah, it's the best school, all my brothers went to the school, and I was kind of like, fuck, what do I need to do to get into the school? Because at this time I'm still thinking like rugby, and Hammy Boys is the best for rugby. I'm thinking, oh yeah, maybe I can go to Hammy Boys. And I remember asking my mum, and she was kind of like, hey, oh yeah, that's not a bad idea, like, and because obviously she always wanted the best for me, so she wanted, like the fact that I asked her to go to a good school, I think she was like, shit, yeah, like, yeah, we'll send you to a good school if you can get in there. And I guess that was the next thing, is like I had to get in, so that was like a bit of an initiation, like I had to trial, I had to go up against other boys, and it was mainly to do with how physically good at sports you are. It was me, one of my best mates. There was a few of us anyway. There's probably about 3 or 4 of us that got accepted from our intermediate from Te Awamutu to go to Hamilton Boys, and it was mainly because of rugby, because we got accepted to go into the rugby like sports academy, and so that was really exciting at that time. Like as a boy, when I look back, like, and me and my friends, like, because we got accepted into that school, like, man, we thought we were the man, like, because everyone else was just going to plain old Te Awamutu College, the public school where we all knew nobody was going to get anywhere. So I guess even at that young age, like, I know for myself anyway, I always had, I guess, like a vision to go that little bit further, I didn't want to be mundane. I didn't want to be like everyone else. Wanted to be a bit different, and I thought I must have had a bit of confidence in myself because I believed in myself enough to actually take that risk when everyone else was just going where everyone else was going, follow the leader. We ran with it, fucking it was mean, and we did really well for about the first year of high school anyway. It wasn't until we got to Hammy Boys and then we realised, shit, we just some tadpoles in a big ocean, like, we were like big and bad where we were from, and we were really good at rugby where we were from, but once we got thrown into the mix of pretty much the best rugby players from all around the Waikato and even further were coming to the school, fuck, we were just average, Well, to be honest, we were actually still above average, especially those first couple of years at school. Like, we did really well at rugby, but it was probably about year 9 or year 11 actually when school started to get serious. Soon realised, like, I'm looking at my my teammates, you know, and my bros that I'm playing rugby with. And fuck, man, I'm looking around and I just remember thinking to myself, bro, I don't have nothing against these guys. I was just like, these guys, they like ride or die rugby. Like, they're waking up training, you know. Like, we had bros that are like, would do fucking press ups for fun. And this is at the age of 14, 15, you know. The bros are running 10Ks every morning and shit like that. Bro, I just was not built like that, eh? I was not interested in running 10Ks a day and training every hour of the day and eating right and all of this. That just wasn't for a 14, 15-year-old boy. Tell you right now, I'm not interested. Obviously, the next best thing after that in a 15-year-old boy is bloody girls, drugs, parties, fights, like all of that type of shit. That was like super appealing to me as a teenager, you know. I loved a good fight, you know. I loved fucking seeing people get a hiding. I loved fucking getting a hiding. I loved everything about it, you know. Like, I loved being with the boys, you know, like that camaraderie, you know, like, or whatever that word is. I can see why all the brothers like turn towards gangs, because it's a feeling where it's just like you feel like you're a part of something. I was just like that as a teenager, you know. Troublesome, but still pretty good, you know. I had fucking morals and respect. Definitely had my little shit days during high school, and that kind of like led me to getting in trouble, and to the point where I'd kind of stopped playing rugby. I was still playing it, I just didn't have the love for it anymore, you know. I didn't really know what I was doing. I ended up actually getting kicked out of home because I wanted to go to parties and my mum wouldn't let me, and we got into a big argument about it. And she ended up, oh well, her and my dad were like, oh well, if you think that you can provide for yourself, then fuck off. And I was like, me, you know, bro, big ego, was like, yeah, alright then, fuck you then. I'll take care of myself. And I'm like, dumb cunt. But anyway, I ended up, packing my bags and leaving, man. It was a couple days after my 16th birthday, actually. And we were going to a friend of ours' 16th birthday.
That's right.
And I ended up leaving, and I went to my bro's house, and I was like, fuck, I got kicked out. When really, I kind of just left, you know, but my parents just said, fuck off if you think you can do better, which is totally understandable. I'd probably do the same thing if that was my son. Anyway, so I packed my bags and fucked off. We went to this party, had the best night, you know. It was a bloody good party. Like, it was probably worth it. Yeah, it was, in my eyes, it was fucking worth it, bro. Being homeless was worth it. I remember before that party, I like rolled up to my bro's house, like, oh, fuck, can I leave my bags here? And he was like, oh, what happened? And I was just like, oh, I kept home, like. And then he was like, oh, you want to stay here? And I was just like, yeah, shit, you. And then his old man was like, yeah, bro, you can stay here. So I was like, oh, fuck, mean. Got taken in straight away, bro. And when I mean taken in, like, man, I was proper whangoed from this whānau, bro. Like, they took me in, you know, like, to the point where I got too comfortable. I didn't even want to go home, you know, like, because I was allowed to do pretty much whatever I wanted, you know, like, and that's what I wanted at that age. I just wanted to do my own thing, and I guess respected for what I wanted to do, which I wasn't getting at home, you know. But long story short, like, in this time when I'm living away from home, I'm living at my bro's house, this is kind of when me and Steve become kind of friends. This is where we started hanging out, because I had all this freedom. She was a bit of a, like, she had freedom. Her parents didn't even care what she was doing, or
No,
she was,
not that
or
they didn't care, they didn't know,
you know. Like, so yeah, she
I
had
was
told
able
them
to
some
get
bullshit.
around
She had
it.
told them some lies anyway, so she was pretty much always out doing whatever she wanted to do. So we would always cross paths, you know, because I'm a free man now. I'd always just be hanging out, you know, like, and not necessarily getting in trouble either. Like, literally just half the time we would just be kicking it at McDonald's. Shit. Like, now, like, we didn't even have money, and like, fucking hell, here we are just kicking it at McDonald's, like. But didn't have data on our phones either, so I don't know what we're doing. Like, we're literally just hanging out, you know, like. And that was what we did as teenagers. We just hung out at McDonald's because that's all we had. And if we did have money, we could maybe get an ice cream, you know. So that was the life of a 15, 16-year-old. Yeah, like, in that time, become really close with Steve, like, just as friends. And in that same time, I guess that was where it developed into something a little bit more, I guess, because it was when we actually got together, which I guess I can share that bit. So when me and Steve, we had been talking for ages, and me and Steve, we had kind of like admitted to each other that I think we like each other, you know, like, I think that we've got feelings for each other, but both of us didn't really want to do anything about it, because it was this awkward situation where we didn't want to fuck up our relationship between not only us two, but our other friends that were involved as well, because we were all like tight friends, you know, like, so that was like our main kind of concern, was like, we didn't want to ruin our friendship. So we'd kind of like just carried on liking each other, but it was almost just like constantly flirting with each other, but not doing anything, you know. So like, we knew we liked each other, we knew that we kind of like wanted to do something, but it was this awkward grey area where we kind of couldn't. And so it was New Year's, don't know what year. If I did the math, I'll be able to figure it out, but I can't be bothered to. It was New Year's, and this is when I'm living at my mate's, so I've got all the freedom, I'm allowed to do whatever I want. And Steve invited us to go with her in-laws at that time out to the middle of nowhere, out the back of Raglan, on some fucking deserted beach on some private property. Like, it was literally the middle of nowhere. Like, you don't even know where this beach is. Like, this beach don't even exist. Like, it's just on somebody's fucking paddock. Anyway, we go out there, and I'm like, fuck, where are we going, G? We're in the middle of damn nowhere with the dodgiest people in the world, you know, like. Anyway, this is Steve's whānau, well, at that time, and they're just the in-laws anyway. It's not her actual whānau, so she's safe there. But they take us out here, and we're having this good old party, you know, good old party. It was New Year's Eve, you know, and we were all drunk as. it was coming up to the midnight, the countdown, and I remember I grabbed Steve and I kind of like took her off for a walk, like down near the beach. And I remember it was a pretty clear night and the stars were out. It was a nice night out. I remember, yeah, like I asked her, like, do you actually want to be my girlfriend? Like, I was just like, and this me asking her was like dead set serious. As I was like, if I'm asking you to be my girlfriend, like, that I'm like fucking for real. Like, this ain't no like kids game. Like, this is like, I want to be with you, you know. Like, so if you say yes, you know, like, you better be fucking willing, you know. Like, and at this time too, like, to be straight up, I didn't even really trust you that much. Like, to be honest, like, I had doubts in myself, like whether this was a good idea. But I was just like, I'll tell you the truth, you know, like way prior, but like prior to before I became friends with Steve, I had like been praying at nighttime, like, and I'm not a religious person or nothing, but I had been praying for like a wifey material girl, you know, someone that I could introduce to my fams, someone that I could bring home, like someone that I could potentially marry, you know, like, and this sounds weird, obviously, because I'm fucking 15, 16 years at this time, you know, like, and obviously most 15 and 16-year-olds are not thinking about that, but honest to God, bro, I used to lay in my bed and I used to look out this window every night as a fucking young teenage boy, and I remember on a clear night I used to be able to see the stars really clearly, and that was like the time that I used to pray, you know. I used to pray all the time. I used to pray for heaps of things, like, and now that I think about it, this is probably the first time I even fucking have talked about this, you know. I used to openly pray to God, when I didn't realize until years later that Steve was that person that I prayed for. But yeah, that New Year's I ended up asking her out, and we made it official, and that was, I guess that's like the date that we go by from our anniversary, you know, is New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, because that was the day that we actually made it official, you know. And to me, when I look back at that too, like, little did I know or not, that was almost me like proposing, like, because that's how serious I was. Like, I was dead set serious, like, and I wasn't playing games either, you know. Like, I knew, like, if we're gonna do this, we have to do it properly, because one, yeah, I don't want to fuck this up, and two, I don't want to get hurt. Three, I don't want to hurt the people that are involved, and four, I genuinely thought both of us deserved to like have a good, loving relationship. I guess ever since then, I've always done my best to keep it that way. Yeah, I feel like a lot of that even has to do with just the role models that I had as parents, and the way that they stuck it through their relationship, you know. Like, I felt like giving up was just not really an option. And obviously, like, yeah, it's been 15 years now, and we've had our fucking fair share of ups and downs and struggles and different tasks that we've had to overcome. We've never broken up. We've never once looked at each other and were like, I want to end it, I want to go, you know. Like, there's definitely been times where I'm just like, get the fuck out of my face, you know, like, leave me alone. But not once have I ever wanted to start over or try again, or, you know, like, I think I have not only my parents to thank for that, but your parents as well, because they stuck it through as well, and always role modeled to you a somewhat positive relationship, you know, loving relationship, you know. So I feel, yeah, that's a big part of like why I'll always do my best, I guess, to try and be the best partner, soon to be husband. I guess that's like a real like basic rundown of like the first 15 years of my life anyway. And obviously, like, there's so many
So much,
things
like,
that like
and even just
I
listening
could
to
have
yours, I'm
missed.
like, oh my god, I want to do mine again.
I'm
But
like, I could have said so many things, you know, like,
but I guess
I'm trying
we're
to
just
keep
gonna
it. Yeah, and
do it, and then we can
we're
go
kind of
backwards and
just like,
forwards or whatever.
we want to do like, yeah, like, we'll share our story, but the thing with this is it's going to branch off into all of these different little segments of like, especially just like some of like specific stories that have happened, or like things that we've done at certain points, and then even maybe we might even share them like once we get up to that point in our life, we'll share like some of those stories. But either way, also, we're just fucking figuring this out, because this is me somewhat getting comfortable talking to a camera, just getting comfortable to share more, because I am quite reserved in somewhat ways. Like, I'm always been a person who is not just going to share for no reason, you know, like, and that's the thing, is like, there is a reason behind why I'm doing all of this. Genuinely, I know that I've got like heaps of fucking value to give with some of the life experiences that not only myself but Steve as well has experienced, and that's what I'm going to share with you. And I don't really care whether you like it or not, because at the end of the day, if you don't, I know that the person probably next to you will, so it might not be for you. And if it don't resonate with you, that's all good too, because yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, there's an intention behind all of this content, and we're doing it for a reason.
But ultimately, this is just what you and I do anyway, right? Like, anybody that knows
Yeah,
us
true.
knows that we just sit here and we can talk and talk and talk and talk.
100%.
And like, when we have our friends over,
This is what we do.
this is what we do. We sit around and we talk, and me and Kim talk over each other and compete for who's going to talk the most.
Yep, 100%. And I guess that's the thing. It's like, yeah, I don't. Well, in the past, I haven't shown up on camera, but if we were to meet in person, you would meet a whole different version of myself, you know, to the version that you see online. So
Trying to bring more of that.
yeah,
It's
trying to
very
bring
valuable.
it in a little bit, and yeah, just add a bit of value to some people's lives, maybe a laugh as well. So yeah, all about positive vibes, G, lifting up the spirits a bit. Want to boost the morals, and ultimately, I just want to create a better world for my children to live in, and hopefully leave a reasonable foundation and future for my children and their children's children and your fucking children too. That's us. Should we wrap this up?
Yeah.
All right. Much love, Hanu. Thank you. If you at some point, I don't know how we're gonna deliver this or whatnot, but if you have sat through and watched this, I appreciate that, because there was a whole heap of rambling in there as well, where we just didn't even know where we were going with this, but we tried to figure it out and bring it back. So yeah, much love, Hanu. True.
Thanks.
Done, eh? Going for a sesh.
Yeah.